Expectations are high for Barack Obama's inaugural address, for the man to match the moment. He won the presidency partly on his speaking ability, and he intends to govern using his powers of persuasion.
My job is to be so persuasive today. You all decide yourselves, you know what, I've got to vote for that guy for president of the United States of America.
Mr. Obama's inauguration will mark the first transition of power in this country since 9/11.
Change has come to America.
The torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans.
Ted Sorensen, who is John Kennedy's speechwriter, says Mr. Obama has to think globally.
That inaugural address is going to define his presidency in the eyes of the rest of the world.
As an aside, the legendary speechwriter had a quick observation about Mr. Obama's style.
If I were to fault him, I would say that occasionally his sentences and words are not always short.
Be that as it may, Mr. Obama has to be something of an oratorical acrobat, a realist, but also an optimist. Ted Widmer is a former speechwriter for President Clinton.
He doesn't want to create the feeling that he will magically solve all of these pretty difficult problems right away. At the same time, he does want to create the feeling that the problems are ultimately solvable.
He can use his oratory to great effect, like after he lost New Hampshire.
And together we will begin the next great chapter in the American story with 3 words that will ring from coast to coast, from sea to shining sea. Yes, we can. Thank you, New Hampshire.
That would become his rallying cry. The question is whether he can translate those campaign skills into governing. There is some truth to the axiom that you can campaign in poetry, but you have to govern in prose.
If we act with the urgency and seriousness that this moment requires, I know that we can do it again.
The inaugural address is something unto itself, neither campaigning nor governing.
An inaugural address is not a campaign speech. It's not a State of the Union address. There's no laundry list of specific legislative proposals.
If Mr. Obama has any doubt about what's at stake, he was reminded recently by an unlikely advisor during a visit to the Lincoln Memorial.
And then we go and look at the Lincoln second inaugural, which is on the other wall. And Sasha looks up and she says, boy, that's a long speech. Do you have to give one of those? I said, actually, that one's pretty short. Mine may even be a little longer. At which point, then Malia turns to me and says, first African-American president, better be good.